It's Tuesday, September 19th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. Thank you for joining us today. On today's show, we will talk with Barnstable Police Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. Then we'll hear from Finance Director Mark Milne. And finally, we meet new town engineer Paul Graves. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. The town will hold a special election today, September 19th. All polling locations will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. This vote will decide how the town will pay for the proposed new Cape Cod Regional Technical High School. For more information on this vote and the vote that will take place on October 24th, please visit www.townofbarnstable.us and click through to the Q&A located under Notifications on the homepage. There will also be a separate ballot in Precinct 12 for the town councilor race. The Town of Barnstable Department of Public Works invites interested individuals to attend a public hearing regarding planned improvements along portions of C Street and Ocean Avenue in Hyannis. The hearing will be held at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 26th in the Town Hall hearing room. This state-funded project is planned to extend from Main Street to the entrance of Keys Memorial Beach on Ocean Avenue. The hearing will include a presentation providing an overview of existing conditions and potential improvements along this corridor, with opportunities for questions and comments. The Department of Public Works is performing roadway improvements on Osterville West Barnstable Road in Marston's Mills between Route 28 and Flint Street this week. Improvements include milling of the existing roadway surface and installation of new asphalt pavement. Work is expected to be completed by Friday, September 22nd, weather permitting. Vehicle access during construction operations will be restricted to one lane. Motorists are advised to seek alternate routes to avoid the construction work. Operations will start promptly at 9 a.m. and run until 3 p.m. As always, please slow down and use extreme caution when traveling through the road construction areas and follow posted safety signs. The Barnstable pump-out boats are in service through Columbus Day weekend, and they will be running Thursday through Tuesday. The pump-out boats monitor VHF channels 16 and 09 during operating hours. Please schedule pump-outs using the email address pumpout@town.barnstable.ma.us or call the Harbor Master's office at 508-790-6273. It is helpful to schedule pump-outs in advance. The shoreside pump-out will be available in Hyannis Harbor as well as Barnstable Harbor through October during daylight hours. Up next, we will talk with Barnstable Police Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. Thank you, Deputy Chief, for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Love to get in the studio whenever we get a chance.
It's a nice change.
I've heard it existed, but I don't get in here much.
Yeah. But they hide us down here in the basement.
Well, they should bring you up more up front. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. So there's a few things that we want to chat about today. I know you started a new, you have a new officer, not a new officer, an old officer, but.
Well, he's not old.
No.
Sorry, Brian. No, you're right. We did start a new program.
Yeah.
Officer Brian Morrison, as many people are familiar with in the community out there. He's now working full-time over at the HYCC, specifically to work with the youth and, and start new programs and stuff. His general hours right now are 11 a.m. to about 8 p.m. Although that can be adjusted depending on what's going on. We'll do an evaluation period, see how it goes. But as everyone knows, he's kind of like the mayor of Hyannis. He's always out there engaged in a lot of civic activities, and we thought this was just a no-brainer, a great idea.
Yeah, he's really great with the kids. I know that when he shows up to an event, the kids all go nuts to see him. So I think that's a great fit over at the HYCC. So
he does have that charisma. We Patty Machado came forward with this, and we talked about it and said, it's a great idea, and here we are. Yeah. So we're doing it, and he's had his first week over there, and he's been doing a great job.
Awesome. What a great idea. I think it's important. You have that thing that parents sometimes do, like, oh, if you do something bad, I'm going to call the cops, and you want to try to avoid that kind of thing. So having kids have a relationship with a police officer, I know there's resource officers in the school, and now one at the HYCC. It's a great way to kind of show that the cops aren't the bad guys.
No, we got to get out there. We got to be more engaged with people, and a lot of it is about just opening those lines of communication with everybody. And that a lot of times just having the ability to sit down and talk with each other resolves a lot of our problems, prevents a lot of problems, and just that's why we're there.
Great. Another program that you guys have that's been going so well is the community service officers. I know that there's less of them right now because I think some of them probably went back to college, but there's 2 sets of community service officers that are still working, and they're going to be working through Columbus Day weekend. And that's just been such a great program. I know that people on Main Street have really, enjoyed seeing them, and they do such a great job.
Oh, we got, and I got to say thank you to those guys. I want to say kids, but they're not kids, college students and everyone else. But I got to say thank you to them. They do a great job. They're out there interacting with all kinds of different people out there, helping people, with directions, with all kinds of things around the community. And you said visibility. They're out there. Anyone can approach them and talk to them. They're very approachable. As you said, the majority of them have gone back to school for now. But they have 2 pairs will be out there until Columbus Day weekend, through Columbus Day weekend, and then that'll wrap it up for the winter. And then we got to sit down and talk about it again, and learn what we learned from it this year, and make some modifications, and see what we're going to do with it next year.
Yeah, great. Do you think you'll bring something like that?
Oh, I
back?
think I think it'll be back.
Yeah.
But like everything else, you got to look at it, evaluate it, say, hey, what tweaks can we make this year to make it work better next year? And we get feedback from everybody. And if anybody has any feedback, by all means, we have our Facebook page and whatnot. You can send us messages and things like that. Let us know what you think and what might be a good idea. And, maybe we can work it in, and, maybe something we haven't even thought of. So input from the community is important.
Yeah, great. And I know Open Streets was this past weekend, and it's a great event that brings the community together. And I know the police department is down there and taking part in everything that's going on. So,
no, that is a fabulous event. And again, kind of like another no-brainer. Just getting the community out there and everyone to interact together and spend time together and just enjoy what we have. I mean, we live here, and I was thinking about it the other day as I was going to work. And sometimes you lose sight of how nice it is to live here because you spend so much time working. A lot of times through the summer, you don't get the time to enjoy what you have, and take the time and enjoy what you got. Get out there on Main Street, walk around, enjoy the green, enjoy the beaches. This is the perfect time of year for it.
Yeah, these things aren't just for the tourists. They're here for us to enjoy, and this is the Cape. This is our summer right now in the month of September, so it's important to get out there. And,
you're correct. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, and just the last thing I want to kind of touch on a little bit. I know it's hurricane season. We have a couple hurricanes that we're watching down in the south right now. Just want to make sure people are prepared and ready. Do you have any tips that you'd like to give to?
Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to jinx anybody. But again, we live on the coast. We're on the East Coast. These are things you got to be aware of, and I'm sure most everybody's got it in mind. But have this time of year, you have some water, have some food on hand. If you got a portable generator or whatever, make sure you have a little bit of gas. Don't run your generators in the house. Put them outside. Don't use your grills inside. Move stuff outside so you're not creating a carbon monoxide risk. But be prepared. Just a little bit. Watch the news this time of year. Spend a little bit of time checking the weather, and just take a time to think about it. And a little common sense goes a long way. Yeah, being prepared is really important. You don't want to be last minute scrambling with everybody else at the store trying to buy stuff. So if you can get yourself prepared for the event if something might happen, because they can come up here. We know we've had hurricanes in the past that have made their way up here and caused some damage. So we want everyone to be safe and prepared, and just get ready for it in case it happens. Hopefully it doesn't. Absolutely. Just have some basics, and if power goes out, you want to have some water. Just enough to get through. Yep. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming into the studio and joining us today. Great time. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you asking me. My guest today was Deputy Chief Matthew Sonderman. Coming up, we'll meet the new town engineer, Paul Graves. But first, we'll hear from Finance Director Mark Milne.
The debt exclusion vote scheduled for September 19th is to ask the voters in town if they would allow the town to add to the tax levy on an annual basis the amount of the assessment we will receive from the regional school district for the new school construction bond that they will be issuing to build the school. The debt exclusion will last as long as the debt lasts. So if they issue a 30-year bond to finance the school, it'll last for 30 years on the tax levy. If they decide to go use a quicker amortization period, say 20 years, then it'll only last 20 years. So the debt exclusion will correspond with the life of the loan. The example that the regional school district has provided to us for the financial impact to the town of Barnstable reveals that it's about a $1.6 million increase in the annual assessment that we'll receive from the regional school district. That has a significant budget impact to the town of Barnstable. It comes right off the top of our budget because it is considered a fixed cost. We would get a bill from the regional school district for that amount. And being such a considerable amount of money, we're asking the voters to consider allowing us to add it to the tax levy so it doesn't compete with all of the other operational services that the town has to fund. So we don't want to have it compete with that. So the question to allow us to ask to put it on the tax levy as an override will eliminate that competition for limited tax resources. It is estimated that based on our current assessed valuation in town, it's about 12 cents on the tax rate, meaning someone with an assessed valuation of $300,000 a year would be about a $36 a year, $3 a month increase in their tax bill. That's using a 30-year amortization period, which is what the school district provided to us for illustrative purposes. The vote is scheduled before the school district's vote which would allow them to authorize the debt, because we want to get the information out as to what the financial impact is for this project. Sending voters to a poll October 25th without understanding completely what the financial impact is could be problematic. So this vote will give us the opportunity to at least explain, what that tax rate impact is, what that tax bill impact is. I think you'd want to have voters know what that is before they walk into a poll that asks them whether or not they'll allow the school district to issue this debt. Because if you do that afterwards, they don't have all the information necessary to make a good educated vote. The town council could authorize a debt exclusion Proposition 2.5 override vote again if it chooses to do so. There's nothing prohibiting them from going back to the voters and subsequently asking for this again if it fails on September 19th and the regional school district vote passes. Similarly, if the regional school district project, their vote fails October 24th, they could come back and ask again for the authorization to issue that debt. So both questions could come back to the voters district-wide and town-wide in the future if they both fail. Another question that has been posed to me is that if the debt exclusion vote were to be approved and the school's project were to fail, what happens to the debt exclusion? And under those circumstances, the town would just never have anything to add to the tax levy because the school project didn't move forward. Even though it had the authorization to add a debt exclusion to the tax levy, there's no debt to add. So under those circumstances, it would just linger on and never be added to the levy itself. We would expect that to appear in fiscal year 2020 the first time. That's the estimate that the regional school district has given us. From a construction standpoint, they would have to issue some debt in order to get the project off the ground, and the impact of having to pay that debt back would first be felt in fiscal year 2020. Coincidentally, during that year, we also have some debt exclusions coming off the books, or coming off the tax levy, so to speak. So any new debt exclusion being added to the tax levy would be offset by expiring debt exclusions that are coming off the tax levy in 2020 as well. And those were debt exclusions for our high school renovation project and our Barnstable Intermediate School renovation project. So the timing of those two happened to work out well. Now, another question that has come up has been the annual amount that's added to the tax levy if the debt exclusion is approved. This will change year to year based on Barnstable's percentage of the overall student population. Currently, we're 29% of the student population there, and that equates to about a $1.6 million impact. Every 1% change in the enrollment is equals to about $56,000 change in the assessment. So if our assessment were to, or our enrollment were to go to 30%, we would see that $1.6 million increase by another $56,000 the following year, but for 1 year only. Every year, that enrollment percentage gets reset and will be used to determine the allocation of the loan payment that the school district has incurred. And so we could theoretically see a reduction in the amount that we add to the tax levy every year, or an increase. It's going to change from year to year. It's not going to be the same exact dollar amount because the student enrollments change from each community year to year. So we're not locking ourselves into a $1.63 million debt exclusion addition to the tax levy every year. It's going to be that to start, and then it could go up and down from there year after year. The operating budget for the regional schools district, we share similarly, and it is based on a percentage of enrollment, and that is about $3.5 million a year right now. The cost of the debt service to build a new facility would add $1.6 million to that annual operating budget of $3.5 million. So that $3.5 million for the operating budget can change as well when they build a new school. We don't know what the impact is to their operating budget from a new facility, but that new facility could require more maintenance contracts, for example, to maintain the facility. There could be offsets to utilities.
So Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. You are the fairly new town engineer. You started back in May. So can you tell me a little bit about your background and what made you decide to come here to the Cape and to the town of Barnstable?
Certainly. Originally I'm from Oxford, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Claim to fame being the birthplace of Clara Barton, founder of the American Red Cross. So I graduated high school there. I attended University of Massachusetts at Amherst, got my degree in civil engineering. Worked for a number of consulting firms, both in Boston and elsewhere in Massachusetts, and then also in Florida. Then I returned to WPI, Worcester Polytech, got my master's degree in environmental engineering, and then worked for a number of state agencies in Kansas, and most recently the University of Kansas, where I was Deputy Director of Design and Construction Management.
So Massachusetts, born and bred.
Yes.
Went away for a little bit and came back to the Cape. Now, was there anything particular about the Cape that kind of caught your eye about coming here? Were you looking for a change?
Well, I didn't actually dream that I'd get a job on the Cape.
Yeah.
Growing up, the Cape was our family vacation every summer, so I've got very fond memories of it from that. And then, of course, in my older years, even with my family, most recently, we've vacationed here. Mm-hmm. And but we were looking, my wife and I were looking along the eastern seaboard in New England for job opportunities. We felt it was time for a change, new adventures for our family. And when I saw this job, I immediately applied for it and was very happy to be successful in that endeavor.
That's great. Wonderful. So I don't exactly know what a town engineer does, and I'm sure some of our viewers don't know what a town engineer does. So can you explain a little bit about what exactly it is that you do? I know you work in the DPW department, so.
That's right. That's right. Department of Public Works. And in layman terms, or in one way of thinking about it, the town engineer has responsibility for evaluating the condition of and then improving, where necessary, the horizontal infrastructure of the town. So roads, water and wastewater utilities, drainage, that sort of thing, as opposed to the vertical infrastructure buildings. We have a town architect who oversees that.
Okay, that's an interesting way to put it, the horizontal, which is
Right.
here instead of the I never thought of it that way. That's it.
And then there's some infrastructure,
Right.
like a water tower.
Right.
It's horizontal or vertical.
Right.
It's considered horizontal
Yeah.
because it's part of the water.
So you've got your
system.
hand in a little bit of everything across the town, roadways and things like that. Is there any big projects that you have that you're working on right now? I know there's been I know the fall is a big time for road work to start back up, so I know there's a lot of stuff going on there, but is there anything, coming up or any big projects that you've worked on since you've been here that you want to tell us about?
Sure, I'll mention a few. The comprehensive dredge plan is a 10-year plan to look at what channels need to be dredged and where that sand can be used for beach nourishment purposes. That plan will be presented to the town council, scheduled to be presented to them on September 28th at their regular meeting. And another project that we're working on is C Street improvements here in Hyannis. We're just in the very beginning stages of designing that, but it's on an accelerated track, intended to start construction next spring.
Oh, wow.
We have a public hearing scheduled on that on September 26th in the town council hearing room.
Okay, great. What kind of work are you looking to do for C Street? I know it's a very popular, busy road, traveled, people going to the beach, people coming back from the beach. I know I drive it almost every day on my way home from work, so.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And that's part of the driver for it.
Yeah.
It's got several objectives, primarily to improve and enhance pedestrian and bicycle safety, as well as overall traffic safety. And of course, to improve the pavement and sidewalk conditions and the sidewalk widths. And then also, where we can, some aesthetic improvements with better lighting and some landscaping.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. So there's going to be a public hearing on September 26th here at Town Hall. At what time?
It's scheduled to start at 7 p.m.
Okay, great.
in
And the
the
public
town
is
council.
welcome to come and
Yes.
give you their thoughts and comment on what some of your plans might be.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our guest today was Town Engineer Paul Graves. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. The Barnstable Historical Society has become the caretaker of the 1690 Old Jail in Barnstable Village, and in celebration has been presenting somewhat lighthearted lecture series that takes a look at 4 infamous local crimes of the past. Tomorrow you can hear the final lecture on the murderous Baptist minister Reverend Richardson. Presented by Reverend Stephen Tremble, the event is free and will be held at the Old Jail next to the U.S. Coast Guard Museum from 5 to 6 p.m. Donations are appreciated. The Marston's Mills Library is hosting a talk with Cape Cod National Seashore Park Ranger about the real history of piracy in the Atlantic. Pirates of the Atlantic will be hosted on Wednesday, September 20th at 6 p.m., and it does include some adult content, so it's not suitable for children. Please register at the circulation desk or call the Marston's Mills Library at 508-428-5175. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with another great show for you. We will hear from Assistant Senior Services Director Donna Burns and CCRTA Administrator Tom Kerr. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.